So what, one of Trump's biggest fans is going to become one of Biden's biggest fans? Uh, Modi here is a real big fascist, and Biden shouldn't be talking with him.
India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi is traveling to Washington, D.C. today to meet with President Biden for 2 days of talks. Tomorrow night, the White House will host Modi for a formal state dinner. It follows Modi's trip to New York, where he met with billionaire Elon Musk. Let's bring in
Well, that's no surprise that two fascists want to talk to each other.
Rick Rossow. He's the chair in U.S. India Policy Studies at the Center for Strategic and International Studies think tank. Rick, thanks for joining us. Just to start, what are Prime Minister Modi's objectives with this visit?
Well, he wants to see increased U.S. investment to help India with his big manufacturing drive. He wants access to core U.S. defense technology to become more self-sufficient in defense production. But he also wants American security analysts to be more concerned about some of the rising threats they see from China in India's own neighborhood, at the border, and in the maritime domain. Those are the three big issues that I'm sure he'll bring to the table for his
Wow, he really wants a whole lot of stuff from the United States.
conversation with President Biden.
Rick, Modi was banned from entering the U.S. for a decade. Now he's at the White House. It's a big change. What changed?
Well, we didn't know exactly what to expect when he transitioned 9 years ago from a state leader to a national leader. We knew that he was obviously pro.
We didn't know what to expect when he changed from a state leader to a fascist. Now that what we know how he's going to react, he's okay.
Growth, a lot of investments going to his state of Gujarat, even after the riots that took place early in his tenure. But we've actually seen him have a more robust presence in foreign policy, as well as more confrontational vis-a-vis China, as opening up the sectors that U.S. companies want to invest in for investment. So the commercial relationship has tightened. We've gotten a much better security partner in Prime Minister Modi, but there are challenges related to some areas of the world where we don't see eye to eye, as well as issues of religious tolerance and things that he has domestically.
It's quite funny how the States is quick to put embargoes on communist nations like Cuba, but when there is a fascist leader, it's like, oh hey, let's work together.
Can you elaborate a little bit on where relations do stand with the U.S. and India right now, and how does Russia complicate it?
The relationship
Yeah, and isn't Modi a big supporter of Russia?
overall, India is our eighth largest goods trading partner. We're a major investor into India. Indian companies invest heavily in the United States. And actually, the United States is India's largest trade partner. So the economic relationship has become quite large. In terms of military, they're not a security ally when they're not on par with Japan or NATO allies, but we are the largest defense exercise partner that India has. And I think, again, when we talk about the rise of China and our shared concerns, there's a lot of overlap. So I think overall, things are going okay. Good enough, I'd say, we're at least in terms of the Russian invasion of Ukraine, we're not going to risk the relationship based on trying to push India to have a tougher line. We'd like to see that, and it has evolved to some extent over time. But I don't think President Biden plans to make it a make or break situation when Prime Minister Modi comes to Washington.
Eric, finally, Modi is also meeting with U.S. tech giant. What partnerships is he working to build or to establish?
Well, still today, about half of India's labor force is still stuck in basic agriculture. And so India is hoping to replicate some of the success China's had in recent years of moving towards manufacturing, particularly high-tech manufacturing.
Well, it's funny that he's waited this long to try to advance his people from being like low-tech agriculture to something better. Like, why?
Both to create jobs as well as offset the major trade deficit India has. U.S. companies, as we saw with China, become major investors and can sometimes create those jobs through their investments. So we like access to the technology, but also access to the jobs. That'll be sure to cause some tricky conversations with the White House, because both countries want to make sure that we got that economic vitalization that goes with evolving supply chains and tech manufacturing. So can we find areas of complementarity? That's going to be a difficult needle for these two leaders to thread.